One of the things when you become a landlord that you will undoubtedly be thinking about is vacancies. So we're going to talk to Casey from Brick by Brick Wealth and ask her how she reduces vacancies across her portfolio. Casey, what do you got?
A lot of things. I feel like vacancy is a killer, and a lot of people will buy in these cheaper areas because of the higher cash flow, but they forget about vacancy. They forget about frequent turnovers. They forget about people just ditching in the middle of the night, moving out, breaking their lease, and now you have to rent the property out again. And if you are having a property management company manage your property for you, then it's a little bit more than 10% of rents that they take when managing your property. Many times, not all the time, but a lot of times, property management companies will take first month's rent to place new tenants. And a lot of times, if you have a tenant break the lease in their first year, the property management company is still going to take first month's rent again if they've maybe stayed at least 5 or 6 months of the lease. They're not going to promise that the tenant's going to stay the whole time, and if they don't, they'll put a new person in for free. No. So vacancy is very costly. So a few tips that I have for minimizing vacancy, right? Because that's a big money sucker. First of all, is buy in the better neighborhoods where people are more responsible, less likely to break the lease, and that right there will help dramatically. I have found that my better neighborhoods, and with me and my students, the better the neighborhood, the tenants follow the lease. They stay the whole term,
Yeah.
and I have found much more people will break the lease in the not as great neighborhoods for
Yep.
whatever reason. And then you've got vacancy, you got to pay your mortgage, you got to pay a new, lease, renewal, and all those things. It's expensive. So buying the better neighborhoods one, an easy one right now is if you can, don't list your property in the winter. Rents are always down in the winter time, so you're going to have a longer vacancy, typically on average, in my opinion, to fill a vacancy of a new property that you have in the winter might take you 2 months, whereas in maybe the spring or summer, you could get a qualified tenant within a couple of weeks. So to avoid that, for me, I always seem to buy my properties and have them rehabbed and ready to rent in the winter. I don't know why. It's just my curse. So I will not do a 1 year lease and end in November, right? I'm going to do an odd numbered lease. I'm going to have whatever my lease is end in the spring or the summertime.
There you go.
So typically, I also do 2 year leases up front to start. And I feel
Okay.
like this really helps. The reason why I do 2 year leases is this. If people are already knowing they only want to stay for 1 year, it's going to be a no for me because that method is all over again. Have to find a new tenant again. If I have a property manager, I have to pay the new leasing fee because they will moved out. So I'll ask people, it's one of my qualifying questions, what's your plan? How long, I do 2 year lease agreements. Is that okay with you? And they'll say, oh, actually, no, I'm looking for a 1 year. I go, oh, why? Oh, because I'm planning on moving to Texas next year, or I'm planning on moving here, or doing this, or buying a house. It's like, sorry, we do a 2 year minimum lease agreement. So if people are willing to stay for 2 years, they're likely willing to stay more. Oh, I hate moving. I'm really looking for someplace long term. Awesome.
Mhm.
Fewer turnovers means they'll stay forever. And using that method, my tenants stay for like 5 years or more. I mean,
Mm.
they stay a long time.